Been witness to disruption and lawlessness taking center stage in our country over the past few weeks. But where does this type of attitude in South Africans actually come from? Well, Dr. Mamphela Ramphele, co-founder of Reimagine, wrote an opinion piece titled, "Do we have a permissive atmosphere for lawlessness in South Africa?" She's in our Cape Town studio joining us to tell us more about that. Dr. Ramphele, a very good evening to you and thanks for your time. What exactly are you asking when you say, do we have a permissive atmosphere for lawlessness in South Africa? What exactly are you putting to us?
Good evening and good evening to your listeners. The lawlessness atmosphere that I'm referring to is one that seems to be in the perception of people across the board, criminals as well as their victims, that crime does pay because we don't seem to have a very strong attitude that says people must do the right thing. And I believe the problem we have is that we did not, in 1994, go through the proper rituals, like a proper African country, of cleansing ourselves of a human rights humiliating culture of apartheid and embrace the values of Ubuntu in a very conscious way, to create an environment that does not make doing crime the right thing. And second, we also have failed to make sure that we train our law enforcement people to understand that their responsibility is to make citizens feel safe. We can't continue to have police who send away women who have been abused, or police that join in the looting when lawlessness happens. And third, I believe that our institutions, including the schools, the churches, the workplaces, have not invested enough in helping South Africans to embrace this human rights culture and a culture of respecting the law. And the final thing, which relates to what's happening over the last few days, if not weeks now, is our inability to control our borders so that we can meet our obligations to welcome refugees, but also our own economic needs to invite people with particular skills to help us in developing our country. And so we are failing on all fronts, and I believe that our president has the opportunity now to lead from the front and say South Africa is not a country that's going to tolerate lawlessness. We have a constitution, and it is the supreme law of the land.
Dr. Ramphele, I want to go back to what you said at the beginning about having or not having cleansed ourselves after, what we were put through under the apartheid system and not having had or neglecting a number of rituals. What should we have done? What exactly are you talking about? What would have been the process there?
When you have lived in an environment which says you don't matter, human dignity doesn't matter because you happen to have a particular culture or a particular color of your skin, you can't imagine that by simply adopting a constitution that says we are all equal, we will be equal. We have to work very seriously and very determinedly to shift people's mindsets. It's like having a constitution that says men and women are equal in the law. But we do nothing to help people to embrace the values of gender equality, which many of them didn't grow up with. And so our fault has been to assume that by adopting a constitution that protects human rights, we will have a society which respects human rights. We have to invest in creating that culture of respecting people because they are human.
And how do we do that, Dr. Ramphele, when it seems that, we have, our leaders have given us very little reason to respect them, very little reason to respect one another, when this entire issue that has consumed the country for well over a week now seems to have been turned into a bit of a political football game as well. We're looking for people to blame. How do we get back to basics and tell South Africans, listen, this is how you actually should be treating one another and treating other people?
Well, I agree with you that leadership matters in these issues. If you have leaders, as we have had, who are looting public resources, how do you then stop young people from looting shops? And so, as the saying goes, fish rots from the top. But even if we were to remove those who have been looting the state, we need to know that the cleansing process, the shifting of the mindset, is not something that's going to happen automatically. It's something that we have to invest in. And one of the areas which is easiest to invest is in our education system. We need to teach little girls and boys from the time they go to school the importance of human dignity, their own dignity and the dignity of others, so that they grow up understanding this value of equality, this ubuntu, what it is. But also the workplaces. Our workplaces, I know from young women I speak to, are very toxic. From the most respected corporations, there is very little investment in making workplaces safe for men and women to work together with respect and to see others as they would like to be seen. And so there is a lot of work ahead of us, and our leaders, this is why I say that our president, whom I know would like to be seen to be leading from up front, but we want to see him, we want to feel him, we want to hear him, not once in a while, but all the time. Because this is a major crisis in our society.
And we do have to repeat the message over and over again. Thank you very much, Dr. Mamphela Ramphele, co-founder of Reimagine there.